what gave in Game 1. Let's find out. The last time they played a World Series game on this field, the Giants scored 16 runs against the Angels in a 16-4 win in Game 5 of the 0-2 series. Lee and Lincecum weren't really pitching very well back then. In fact, they weren't pitching back then. Lincecum in this game, that's Lee getting a hit.
And it's a double, one of the 10 doubles hit in this game by these two teams.
And I think it was a thing. Lincecum assumed he was bunting, was going to throw something that cut on him, hopefully try to get him to pop it up, took something off of it, and that's a pitch that Cliff Lee can hit.
And he's invented the low 5 claw instead of the high 5 claw. Meantime, they're up 2-zip, and the way Cliff Lee's pitched in the postseason, game's over. But he hadn't faced Freddie Sanchez, who had a huge game. So did Buster Posey when he had to.
Yeah, Buster Posey comes up with this RBI, ties the game, and really gives the Giants team and their fans something to really cheer about.
A rookie hitting in a 3-hole, a rarity. He'd been a cleanup guy. He's moved up to the 3 spot. Pat Burrell, not a great night.
Yeah, and this is when you thought that Cliff Lee, okay, now I've got this game under control. Yeah, they tied it, but, you know, I got a guy on third base, less than 2 outs. He strikes out Burrell, he strikes out the hot Cody Ross. This is when you thought Cliff Lee had this thing dialed in.
But the Giants got to feel good. They got 2 runs off this guy. They got to feel okay. Bottom 5, man on second, 1 down. Bobby, how come Freddie Sanchez looked so comfy up there?
He was swinging. He was swinging from the time he left the dugout. He wanted to get the timing of the pitches that Lee was throwing, and he timed every one that he threw.
Third double of his night. Cody Ross up the middle off Lee.
Yeah, that was good thing Cliff Lee bends over after he delivers the ball, because that would have done some damage.
There's Barry Bonds. He, of course, was on that 2002 World Series team. Aubrey Huff had 3 hits. And Ron Washington, who had the bullpen busy, Darren O'Day, he's got to go to it after 4 2/3 innings. This is unheard of. Yeah. There was some who suggested that we should start Jonathan Sanchez because you can't beat Cliff Lee. That idea didn't hold water.
It was 5 innings and over 100 pitches thrown, and they fouled pitches off. They didn't just take them. They were aggressive the entire night.
Juan Uribe basically ended the night for Cliff Lee by tacking on some extra earned runs to his total with that 3-run home run. Edgar Renteria had a great defensive play early in this game. Vlad Guerrero didn't play well defensively in right field.
That's his first of 2 errors on ground balls. He just didn't bend over very well and put the ball in the glove.
Yeah, you have to be able to bend over. Renteria ends up at third. Here's Vlad. You know, when he was with the Angels, you wanted to kind of squirt the old Tin Man with some oil to get the bones and the legs moving. Looked like a little oil would have helped him in this game. Sanchez then lines another hit to right. Were it not for a catch by Guerrero earlier on a Sanchez line drive, he might have had 5 hits. He ends up with 4 in the game. It's 10-4, and it got a little sketchy late. Brian Wilson comes on to try to close it. It got to 11-7, but Kinsler flies out, and that would be the end.
Other than Lincecum getting hit by 2 batted balls, that's the only sad part for the Giants tonight, that they had to use their closer in a game that they were leading by 7 runs in a night.
5th inning was the difference, and the Giants scored 5 runs with 2 outs that inning, and that was impressive. Only 2 other teams have ever scored 5 or more with 2 outs in an inning in Game 1 of a World Series. Boston did it in 07. The Reds managed it in 1919, long time ago. Great start for San Francisco in Game 1. The highlights and find out one of the places it's gone is really into the catcher's glove of Buster Posey, because the 2 pitchers for San Francisco in the first 2 games, Bobby V and John Kruk, have been obscene.
Yeah, this ball's hit very hard, though, and Texas has a chance to get on the board.
In Texas on Saturday night, that's a home run.
There's people running around that grass area trying to get that ball, but this is a different ballpark. It plays different than the ballpark in Arlington. The Rangers really didn't adjust to it too well.
A look of exasperation on Kinsler's face, and it echoed all the way through their bench. So he's on second, and they cannot deliver the clutch hit. Boy, the Giants have been great with 2 outs. They've been great with men in scoring position. You cannot say the same about Texas.
And here, no one's in scoring position. It's not 2 outs, and yet Renteria deposits one in left field and puts them up 1-0.
Edgar's always in scoring position, Bob. 1 swing, and he's scoring. That's a home run. It's a Giant 1-0 lead. Now to the 6th inning, 2nd and 3rd. After a Matt Cain wild pitch, so you got men at 2nd and 3rd. You got the guys you want up.
Maybe he'll trip over the line.
Oh, man.
If the line was a little higher, he might have. Yeah. But instead, it's just a pop-out.
Give credit to the ground screw there for keeping that chalk a little low.
The next batter, Kinsler. and this one's not going to the wall, and he drops his bat in frustration.
And you just see the over-swinging, the trying to lift, to try to get more distance on their hits. It just ain't happening.
C.J. Wilson, a lot better than Cliff Lee. He could throw a curveball, unlike Cliff Lee in Game 1, but it turned out in the 7th inning, that's all he could throw. And the reason that's all he could throw is because the blister on his finger wouldn't allow him to throw any other pitch.
Actually has a callus on his finger, which is a real necessity to throw the pitches, but that callus broke off and became an injury.
And an injury which got him out of the game and got Darren Oliver in the game. It allowed a run to score on a little blooper by Juan Uribe, who's been in the middle of everything. He and Edgar Renteria make a formidable left side of the infield defensively and offensively that has come through as well. Look at chasing Matt Cain's fastball way out of the zone.
Chasing it out of the zone, trying to do too much. You know, you don't want to call it pressing, but it's just really bad swings in crucial situations and a lot of weak pop-ups by this Texas Rangers offense.
And Bruce Bochy's been the maestro. Every chord has been beautiful. He calls Javier Lopez and he gets Hamilton to fly out to center field.
He was the tying run there in the 8th inning. They were down only 2-0.
21 in the 3rd with no earned runs this postseason. Matt Cain, Derek Holland. Derek Holland couldn't find the strike zone. It was painful to watch. Wilson said that looked like it was a strike. They weren't getting any strikes. Mark, low, like really low. 4-0. At one point, they threw 13 pitches and 12 were balls. Then they gave up 3 hits in a row, including this shot by Renteria with the bases loaded.
And that was a 3-2 count where he fouled off a couple pitches too. So, you know, it wasn't like they were getting ahead.
The Texas Rangers fans didn't want to see Mark Lowe pitching in the first 2 games of the first World Series that their team was in.
By the way, the Giants scored not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, but 7 runs with 2 outs in the 8th inning, and they have what feels like an incredibly commanding lead in this World Series, 2-0. When the Giants were being introduced, the fans were screaming, Texas Rangers, and when Nolan Ryan came out and threw the ceremonial first pitch to Pudge Rodriguez, he scooped it and they went nuts.
Well, they should.
They wanted him to throw 96, and it was only 86.
I think that Colby Lewis doesn't have the velocity Nolan has, but that didn't matter in this game. Looking for some offense for Texas to get on track. Vlad hammered this ball with the man on first. A really good catch by Pat Burrell.
Great catch by Pat Burrell, and he almost made the catch on Michael Young, 2 hitters before that on a ball in front of him, but you know, give Pat credit. He gets to it, he catches it.
Right to the 2nd inning with a man on 3rd. Cruz had killed the ball. A double, he's on 3rd now, and they can't get him in. There's 2 down.
The first pitch to Strandcourt, too. Weak ground ball from 3rd.
Mitch Moreland, no! And even when this one goes foul, there's a sense in the ballpark. They're not going to score, are they?
Usually when you hit one foul, you don't hit one fair.
He did hit one fair on a very similar pitch, and boy, the cork's off the bottle of champagne. It's 3-0.
Well, no one's happy when you make the owner happy. Mitch Moreland's going to be here a long time, man.
The way he's playing, he's going to be here a long time. 4 for 6 in the World Series. Mitch Moreland, the best average of anybody on the Rangers. Meantime, Colby Lewis getting ground balls, getting first pitch strikes. Nice play by Michael Young.
They must have an unbelievable scouting report on Renteria, because I don't know if I've ever seen him bunt, really.
All right, here's Young. Watch this turn by Sanchez at 2nd. By a half step, they get him at 1st. Key double play. It keeps the score 3-0.
Bad hop at 3rd base, a great turn at 2nd.
Careful. Oh, lefties have not had any success really in the postseason against this Ranger team, and it's the lefties in the game, Moreland and Hamilton, to do the damage. That's a 4-0 game. You can't stop Cody Ross either.
No, I tell you what, he's turned himself into one of the biggest postseason hitters in the history of baseball.
Those President Busher, his swing is perfect, and he would know it as a former Ranger owner. Meantime, the Giants down 4, 2 outs, bases empty. It's 0-2, and we're hitting a guy to bring a tying run to the plate.
You'd think you'd be able to get your feet out of the way, but Aubrey Huff knows the situation. Down 2, get on base any way you can. Posey pops one here, you're tied.
Darren O'Day, maybe the biggest pitch of the game and the biggest out of the game. Posey rolls one over. So they're able to bridge the gap to Neftali Feliz, who hadn't pitched in over a week, and he showed 0 rust. Nearly cracking 100 miles an hour with his velocity. Laura Bush, Nolan Ryan, President George Bush on hand, celebrating the first World Series victory in Ranger franchise history. as important a victory in any World Series, given the fact they were down 2-0 and all the momentum was in San Francisco's corner. Give great credit to Colby Lewis. He pitched an outstanding game. They've become used to that. He's the Matt Cain of the Giants. But offensively, Mitch Moreland really got the ball rolling for Texas. For an incredibly impressive performance by a San Francisco Giant team that had everything going against them, including 2 former presidents throwing out the first pitch. One a Houston native, one a former owner of the Texas Rangers who lives in nearby Dallas.
It's only pitching 4 innings that a Rangers pitcher didn't get hit.
Yeah, the Giant didn't hit or foul off his right. Little defense there early. Hamilton had a hard shot. Sanchez made the play. Nate Shearholtz. Bruce Bochy changed his lineup, and defensively it all worked, and even as a DH it worked, but not here. Nice catch by Hamilton.
Yeah, you thought right here that this is when Texas would take over. Josh Hamilton, a great play, saves a run. Now we're going to come back, and we're going to get some runs off Madison Bumgarner.
Jeff Francoeur, he's playing right field once again for Texas. Hit the ball hard in this game. What a catch by Sanchez. Wow, a little web gem, nearly snuck out of the web.
Ron Washington said after the game, we hit a lot of balls hard. We had nothing to show for it. That is true.
Come to the yard wondering when is a DH going to perform for the National League. Shawan Dunston in 2002, the last starting DH to homer. He was a Giant. Aubrey Huff hits a huge blast here, and just like that, San Francisco is up by a score of 2-0. Nelson Cruz watches this ball go. What a play by Sanchez.
Sanchez was all over the infield, making very fine defensive plays the entire game.
Buster Posey has proven to have an absolute shortstop's arm behind home plate. He has been accurate, and he has been quick. There's the catch by Cody Ross, who was a right fielder in Game 3.
Right fielder Pat Burrell being set down because of a slumping bat. Cody Ross, I don't think Pat Burrell makes that play. Could have changed that inning around.
Top 7 man on Andres Torres. Ding dong, pitch nearly dead. This one would hit off the top of the wall. If it goes over, perhaps Renteria sent back to third. Game of inches. Remember, Kinsler's ball didn't go out in San Francisco. This one stays in Texas, and it's now a more comfortable even 3-0. Although I think if he had a half run, he would have been comfortable the way he was pitching.
Yeah, he didn't need much. I mean, you see Vlad Guerrero shaking his head on a changeup right there. I mean, just an awful swing from a guy who's very aggressive.
Completely fooled. Kinsler with 2 on, really the only threat, and it was in the 7th, and you figure if it's going to happen, that's where it's going to happen. This ball, sitting at our vantage point in left center, it looked like it had no chance, and man, it must have found a jet stream and carried all the way out for Buster Posey.
He hit the ball really well on a 78-mile-an-hour slider, though, Carl, and the ball did carry, but it was hit very well.
And the same way Feliz showed up in Game 3, Brian Wilson comes in Game 4, and it's equally nasty.
2 strikeouts to end the game.
Dispelling the myth that a closer has to pitch in a closing situation, in a safe situation,
Yep.
or else they're no good.
He's dispelled a few myths about
He's
him.
a beautiful person,
Madison
man.
Bumgarner, the 4th youngest starter to win a World Series game, is now San Francisco's 1 win away from San Francisco's first World Series title. He lowers his postseason ERA to 2.18 and elevates his status in San Francisco lore as a great young pitcher. We'll get to in just a second. We're going to hear from Curt Schilling in a moment as well. Bobby V, how about the dress code for Tim Lincecum? You like that?
I like it. He was dapper. His hair was perfect, and his tie was tied tight.
And his pitching was near perfect. Cliff Lee, nice catch early in this game as he reaches above his head and to take a potential hit away. That was not really well hit.
You never know where the infielders were going to be on that one because it wasn't hit that hard, but yeah, he caught a changeup.
All right, let's get to the big-time Timmy Jim guy, Tim Lincecum.
And that's a good changeup.
He didn't have to catch that one. It wasn't coming back. He kept that. It's like a split finger almost, but he refuses to kind of call it a split finger.
No, I think they had problems with a split finger in San Francisco under Roger Craig.
There you go.
So they don't use the terminology anymore.
All right, we'll deep six that terminology. You just say he pitched an unbelievable game. His fastball was working inside. He had a changeup that was dropping about 4 or 5 inches underneath anybody's bat that was trying to hit it. Good. And there's that two finger. How's that?
That's a good one.
Is that a good one?
I like whatever you call it.
There it is again.
The Vulcan.
Nelson
It goes
Cruz.
straight down.
The Vulcan. 7th inning, Lee. 2 men on. Aubrey Huff lays down a bunt. Lee charged. Then he made a nice play to get the out. But all of a sudden, men are at 2nd and 3rd. Prior to that, neither team through 6 had anybody reach second base. Pat Burrell. He's going to actually get a World Series ring, and he'll deserve it. But boy, he's going to wish that this World Series, from a hitting perspective, never happened.
He made a couple good defensive plays.
He did. Edgar Renteria. Are you kidding? In the top of the 7th inning, he goes out on a hitter's count 2-0, 2 outs, and he delivers.
2-0 with a base open. Aaron Rohn, who just struck out the at-bat before. Tough decision. Tough decision.
Giants had 17 two-out RBIs, third most in World Series history. The Indians had 21 and 97. The 82 Brewers had 20. Back to Lincecum, who feels like 3-0 is like 9-0. But in fact, Nelson Cruz goes yard, and it's 3-1.
Yeah, and that made it 7-0. That's how great Lincecum was. The one hiccup after the long delay in the 7th inning, that was about it.
Yeah, the solo shot in that situation just felt like it was
a hiccup.
Just a little scratch, a little mosquito bite. He continues to strike guys out. 10K performance for Lincecum to the 9th inning. He sits just over 100 pitches. He didn't seem too stressed about it because you have Brian Wilson blowing everybody away. Nelly Cruz is gone, the X for execution, and I'm sure he's still screaming right now as San Francisco hops the fence and charges the mound in celebration. A team that was 41 and 40 at one point this year went 51 and 30 down the stretch. Owned September with some unreal pitching that carried over into October, and on the shoulders after the World Series and on floats during a parade, San Francisco Giants. They beat the Rangers 3-1, and they ultimately dominated them. They hold a very good hitting Texas team to a 190 batting average. San Francisco scores 29 runs. The Giants Rangers manage only 29 hits. Here's what the winners said after.
You know, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. It's undescribable. Everybody, I mean, we had a different hero every night. Edgar, he did it before and he did it again tonight. Our pitching, they did it all year, and they did it this whole postseason.
We don't have a lot of superstars on this team, but we have a lot of guys that know how to play the game and a lot of leaders. Nobody's selfish. It's the best team I've ever been on. It's awesome.
I keep telling myself, let's be patient, let time gonna come over, and thank God everything work out.
It's just amazing, exciting, you know, very emotional. Just kind of don't really know how to pick what emotion to go with right now. You know, it's like, what are we thinking about next year? What the excitement of things that can happen? You know, talking about what we did this year, the right moves that we made. We just did all the right things, man.
We've got 4 homegrown pitchers, and they've been nailing it down all season. And it was evident that their nerves didn't get the best of them.
You seem emotional right now. Tell me what you're feeling.
I'm feeling like I want to rage right now.
6 saves, a bagel for an ERA in the postseason. Unbelievable. Longest span between World Series titles. Yep, the White Sox in 05, they ended 88 years of frustration. The Red Sox, 86. Remember, they were these self-proclaimed idiots. This 2010 Giant team were these self-described misfits and cast-offs. But they keep winning World Series titles, these so-named teams. Afterwards, Texas can only call themselves runner-ups.
Nobody in this room's more disappointed than I am. You know, the way I pitched the first game, and you know, to keep it 0-0, and then, you know, get Burrow with the strikeout there was huge, and then to give up that home run, I'm very disappointed about that. But you know, that's the way the game goes sometimes.
Good pitching, stop hitting, and in this series, their pitching certainly stood up, and that was the difference right there.
We're not happy with the way the season ended right now, but we set the bar high here right now, and fuels the fire heading into next season.
You know, we just weren't swinging the bats well, but they just they beat us fair and square.